I've been seeing this question a lot. Should I upgrade my S22 Ultra to the S24 Ultra in 2025? So happy to do this updated comparison for you guys. And let's go ahead and just dive into it. The S24 Ultra, very popular phone now. That is coming down in price. It's not as expensive. So we can expect to see this phone probably by the early, next year. Coming down to like the high 500s, which would be great because it's already like 630. S22 Ultra is also a pretty good flagship that's coming down in price a lot. It's like at the low 300s. I can see this phone coming to the upper 200s as well. So very good, older flagship to consider if you're coming from, a mid-range phone or something a lot older. But let's go ahead and dive in. I think the first thing is the weight difference. That a lot of people are curious about. There's really not that much of a weight difference. You do have on the S22 228, and then the S24 Ultra is 232. So as far as like the weight difference, it's really not noticeable, even though you have that titanium design on here. There is actually going to be a difference here when it comes to how they kind of feel in the hand here. So the S24 Ultra kind of feels a bit more squared off on the sides, as you have a bit more of a curve on the S22 Ultra. I feel like the S24 for me is a little bit easier to manage. They're both very massive phones, so if you have smaller hands, both phones are kind of, can be a bit much to handle. And they both kind of poke on the palms here. But I think besides that, there's not too much of a difference. You have a matte finish, IP68 dust and water resistant. Of course, you're going to have a slightly improved, S Pen with the S24 as far as the latency goes. So it'll be a little bit more accurate as far as people who are doing digital artwork. Besides that, they're both Bluetooth and they both, pretty much function the same. So there's no difference with that. So as far as the hardware design-wise, it's not really that big of a difference. You won't really notice anything in this department. As far as the displays go, there is a slight improvement here. So the S24 Ultra now has a flat display, which is going to be one of the bigger upgrades for a lot of people. The industry has kind of moved to flat displays, and it does have the anti-reflection coating on here, so you guys can see when light hits it, it's not as harsh on the screen, which is pretty nice as well. And then, we have similar specs. Both phones have the dynamic AMOLED display. They're both 6.8 inches, 120 hertz, HDR10 plus. Where they actually differ is that the S22 Ultra has a 1750 nits peak brightness, and you have a 2600 nits peak brightness on the S24. So it's a lot brighter outdoors in direct sunlight. And that is pretty much it. They, kind of have similar PPIs as well, basically, 500 PPI. So both screens look very sharp. I don't have an issue with the S22 Ultra. The color looks great. You can get the S24 to look pretty similar to the S22 in terms of color if you turn the vividness slider on. But just note that I think the biggest upgrade here is going to be a flat display, and then it is slightly brighter. But as far as the quality of the panel, it's pretty much going to look exactly the same. So there's no actual difference with the screen quality that I could tell for the for the most part here. So it's going to be kind of a minimal upgrade here. The bezels are going to be a little bit slimmer, but even that is kind of you have to really look to tell the difference. It's just a slightly better screen to body ratio. So as far as the screen goes, the screen upgrade is okay. So we got Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 on the S24 Ultra, 256 gigs of internal storage, 12 gigs of RAM, and then we have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 on the S22 Ultra. And then if you are overseas, you should have the Exynos 2200 version, 128 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM on this version. You guys can see a pretty nice score jump in the single and multi-core scores here. And then if we hop into 3D Mark here, we're getting a pretty nice graphics performance update here at almost 29 frames versus the 12 frames on the S22 Ultra. I would say if you have any performance problems with the S22 Ultra, this is a fantastic upgrade. If you are more of a lighter user and you're not dealing with heating issues on the S22 Ultra, I would say honestly keep the phone if you're not having any performance problems, because this is where the bulk of this upgrade is. It's really in performance. The S24 Ultra is a lot better when you're playing games. It's a lot better when you're multitasking and just being able to keep animation consistency. You know, for the most part, the S22 Ultra is still a pretty fast phone. It's not like it's slow by any means. The One UI 7 update really helped this phone just feel a lot fresher, and the animations are really nice. So it feels pretty similar to, you know, the newest phones out right now in terms of animations and speed. But like I said, if you're somebody who you consider yourself more of a power user, doing video editing on your phone, like the rendering is a lot faster on the S24 Ultra. If you feel like you have heating problems on the S22 Ultra, that is really not apparent on the S22 Ultra. So yeah, I think that the upgrade is great if you are more of a power user, basically, and if you are more of a gamer for the most part. But as you guys can see, S22 Ultra is easily able to keep up with the S22 Ultra in terms of speed and animation consistency. Like, yeah, it is a little bit faster, but if you didn't put them side by side, you really wouldn't, you know, be able to tell the difference here for the most part. So yeah, so that's kind of my opinion on that. You guys can see, you know, they literally feel exactly the same. So let me open up PUBG for you guys. Like I was saying, the gaming performance is going to be a lot better. Even if you play emulators, whatever, you can see 120 frames on PUBG. Very smooth, and like I said, it doesn't heat up as much on the S24. The S22 is actually still able to play PUBG at 90 frames. But the only issue is, even right now, it is a little warm. It's not like hot to the touch, like super hot where you don't want to touch it, but it is already warm, and we haven't even really done anything yet. But yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. That gaming performance is going to be a lot better on the S22 Ultra, but the S24, I mean the S22 can still game casually, so you can still easily come in here, play a match, PUBG, Call of Duty, you can still play Genshin, stuff like that. Emulators still work. But like I said, if you're not this type of user, then I don't think you really need to upgrade. Check out these speaker improvements. So not only is the S24 a lot louder, but it also has a much better sound. The bass is a lot more apparent. Just a much better balanced sound compared to the S22 Ultra, which sounds a little bit low on the bass, and the overall sound is kind of lacking here. So I would say this is a very noticeable upgrade, in my opinion, when it comes to the speaker quality here. Also, the fingerprint scanner remains the same. They're both ultrasonics. There's no difference there. Where you will actually find a difference is in the AI department. So if you are someone who uses AI, or you find the features to be interesting, you will have more AI features on the S24 Ultra. They do have a lot of the same features like call assist and write assist interpreter. Where you will see like the differences, like the audio eraser, photo ambient wallpaper, the health assist, and as I'm assuming as the years go on, you'll get more AI features on the the newer Galaxy phones. So that's something to know. But the updated Gemini is here on the S22 Ultra, which is extremely useful. I use it actually a lot. It's very smart. So I would say it really depends. The circle of search is here as well too, of course. But yeah, it really depends on what type of user you are. Let's talk about the camera specs here. So the S22 Ultra has a 108 megapixel standard. It's got two telephoto lenses, a 10 megapixel regular telephoto, and then another 10 megapixel periscope telephoto. That's going to be 3 times and 10 times, get you all the way up to 100 times zoom. You also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide, AK24 video, and then a 40 megapixel selfie that also shoots 4K 60. Now, the S24 Ultra has a 200 megapixel standard camera, 10 megapixel telephoto 3 times, and then you have a periscope telephoto lens that's 50 megapixel, but this one is 5 times optical zoom. It gets up to 100 times zoom as well. And then you also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide, AK24 and 30, and then a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. such a good, chip on the S24 Ultra. The battery life is noticeably much better on the S24 Ultra. What's kind of interesting about the S22 Ultra, the battery life has improved with updates. So the One UI 6 update was actually a pretty big update for this phone when it came to it not draining so much during standby time. That was one of my biggest issues with this phone, is mine would drain a lot with standby time. But ever since One UI 6 and One UI 7 has really helped. It doesn't drain a lot. It's able to keep its battery life when you're not using it, which is something that, I was pretty excited when it happened. But the S24 Ultra, regardless, is still going to have much better screen on time. So if you are someone heavier user, you're having battery life issues with your S22 Ultra, this is a good upgrade for sure. They both have the same size battery, but again, the chip efficiency on the S24 just makes the battery experience a lot better, and it's not heating up as much. They both actually kind of charge kind of slow in my opinion, 45 watts on both, and they both have the same wireless charging specs, 15-watt wireless. They both have reverse wireless charging. So, I mean, I think they both, like I said, they kind of charge slow. But yeah, so I think this is a pretty solid upgrade. It comes down to, I think, the cameras, what you thought about the cameras, and if you're a power user or not. And I know a lot of people, they are, wanting to try new software, and they just want to future-proof the phone, right? You want the latest software or whatever. You get that 7 years of updates. So I'm not saying it's a bad update at all. It's a pretty solid upgrade. I think you're not shelling out, a lot of money. Like, I know it's a lot of money, but not shelling out over $1,000, stuff like that. So, it's a good upgrade. I'm not, against this upgrade at all. But like I say, it's not an upgrade that I don't think you have to make now, because you can legit wait another year and this phone will be a lot cheaper. So let me know what you guys think.